Riles stack, the usual there. And we queue. The thing is, we're queuing, right? We're queuing an unranked game as we usually do with Riles. And Riles is like, all right, I need to stop queuing. We're going to run into K-Stig stack. And then K-Stigs and Ambacher, who both have Riles added, they both go offline on Steam to make sure Riles cannot check that they're being sniped. Naturally, after they both do that, we queue into their fucking stack, which is always fun to do. Riles is immediately super tilted, like, oh my god, they sniped me. They both went online off Steam to dodge us. But luckily, it didn't matter. We beat them. It was just pretty good. I bodied K-Stigs in lane. Snow, who's one of the EST Monday captains, went super off on Earthshaker. It was a nice and interactive game right there.
Sounds like a good one. You guys did end up winning then.
Yeah, we ended up just destroying them, which is perfect because the last time Riles stack went into K-Stig stack, they got super bodied. Riles went like 1-12 or something. It was a bad game, so we avenged his last loss.
Because I was under the impression that you guys lost and then Riles left the EST Sunday Discord or something like that.
That was a different time when earlier that night when Devilisk managed to tilt Riles. Let's just put it this way, Riles was already tilted from a previous game, and Devilisk Nyx was off farming a lane solo while the rest of his team was farming as a 4 support repeatedly, and then Riles was not happy about that one.
Okay. Enough to leave the Discord.
I mean, he didn't leave the Discord, but he got off voice communications when his team was still playing, and the rest of us were kind of sitting there silently.
Oh yeah, that's always a fun one.
This just happens sometimes. It's unfortunate, but oh well.
Alright, I got Badger here. Bonus interview, bonus Sunday. We're going to jump right into it. We're going to roll right into it here. How does it feel to be the guest for once, Badger?
Feels great. I get to do absolutely zero work, zero research. I don't have to actually broadcast myself or do any editing. I can just sit here and answer questions.
You know, it's funny you talk about that, actually, because my second question is about how much preparation do you actually do for the BRR every Thursday?
It's less that I do preparation on Thursday, but more I end up doing preparation beforehand. Like, usually on the Monday or the Tuesday after the PPP, I read the PPP, actually figure out what happened in the given week, and then I usually have the guests predetermined. Like, say, for example, this week, right? We're having Mikkel on. Tomorrow, I'll probably message Mikkel, say, I want to talk about these 4 or 5 series this week, these 4 or 5 series next week. I want to talk about your team. I want to talk about Europe. I want to talk about you winning in Europe, all this fun, interactive stuff there. And usually it's about maybe 45 minutes of prep over, of course, a couple days. Nothing too bad.
Especially if it's split over a couple days, that probably doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah, it's nothing really.
Is there anything that goes into deciding what series you want to cover?
I mean, usually I'm a very selfish, very self-serving person. I'm like, all right, let's talk about my series, which is perfect because I also want to talk about a lot of the top series. So usually I select like 3 or 4 of the series towards the top of the division, and then we take a couple series from teams we usually don't talk about. Like, say, last week, I don't think we ever talked about Kyrox's team on the BRR. So Redondo's like, all right, talk about Kyrox versus, I believe they're playing Silu. So talk about both these teams. We cover more teams, and it gives us a chance to both cover the top teams in the division, who I believe are the most interesting teams, and then also eventually work around to covering all the teams.
Yeah, and I noticed you're a bit more prepared than I am. You're booking guests months in advance, and I'm usually a week before. What spurs that organization?
See, basically, to understand why the organization happened, you have to go back to how the BRR gets formed, right? I'm sorry for already lengthening your interview to far beyond what the other interviews are, but this is important detail, right?
All right.
Because I approach Redondo on Discord, maybe on the Monday of the first week, and I'm like, hey, Redondo, I want to make content with you, because I had respect for Redondo with PPPs and whatnots. I want to make a week in review type content. I want to talk about the division for an hour plus over a black screen and have on guests. And at that point, we decide, all right, what are good guests we can have on for the first episode? Because we've never tried it before. We hadn't done any prep yet. First thing that comes to mind that nobody would be offended by is Octane. And then, in addition to that, we're like, all right, Shay, Doctor, Dark, and Zamox is other guys we can have on and be interesting with. 3 weeks later, we've had on three of those people, and the other one, Shay Doctor, unfortunately could not make it. But at that point, we started putting on a different variety of guests to cover different topics. Like, say, we have, at this point, every single role has been on the show. we've had captains, we've had non-captains. It's more people we want to talk about with the RD2L for like over an hour. And it's basically we made a list. We contacted people on the list, and it was a good making content.
And you mentioned there about how you brought on Octane because he wouldn't offend people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Octane he's pretty well spoken. He's pretty articulate. He has a decent analytical mind. Obviously, he was captain of the year in season 12. He manages to get more than the sum of his parts. It appears in his team, so he's definitely somebody you can have on, can say useful things and not piss off the audience too badly.
Okay. Well, you then had Zamoxles on the next week.
See, I like Zam, right? Because Zam, the best way to describe Zam is he has useful and well-researched things to say. He's just not a very elegant or articulate person. So the way he formulates his thoughts is inflaming. Instead of say, like right now, if I brought up, say, I don't know, Malachi's team, right? I would say, Malachi's team, they have internal issues, they're 1-7, they're not in the same game plan. If I were Zamox's, the way he would articulate that is like, Malachi's team sucks. Because I think that's the way he actually, I mean, from talking to him, it seems like that's the way he actually approaches it in his head, to be honest.
Yeah, I can appreciate that in somebody. It's definitely easy to, when I interviewed Zamoxles, it was a pretty easy interview because you can honestly just say 2 or 3 words and he'll go off for about 5 minutes, and it feels great to be an interviewer and be able to do that.
Like, he'll give you his honest thoughts, no filter, which is definitely a plus at times.
You know he's speaking to you pretty much straight up. So
Yeah,
we're going to
absolutely.
focus. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say absolutely. You're 100% right on that one.
All right, we're going to focus more on your team this season because unlike last season, we don't have an undefeated team, but I mean, you guys are pretty much undefeated other than the one loss to Zamoxles. Can you explain what happened in the one loss you had?
All right, so the one loss we had, I mean, I've said one thing. Every single loss we've had in both official games and in scrims, you can easily blame on me because every single loss we've had, I've played it maybe a 4 out of 10 or worse. In that particular game, 3 players played badly, especially myself and Coop. I was playing Safe Lane Faceless Void. I itemized, like, we're going to say a Mongoloid, but Mongoloid's probably generous. I went Diffusal Blade first on a Safe Lane Void, which was very ineffective up against a Terrorblade and a Zeus. It's a very outdated build, especially in that game. There's probably 8 or 9 items I could have built that would have been more effective and game winning in that game, and I didn't do that. I didn't play properly. In addition, Coop played Bane. Apparently, Coop Bane is a lot worse than we thought it was. It was a very ineffective Bane pick. Rouse was not happy there. In addition, Watts in the offlane usually has very solid performances, but in that given game, he had a pretty underwhelming performance. So combine the 3 of us not playing at the level we're expected to play at, and I mean, Zam, he had a very good draft there, very smart Zeus pick. He picked Terrorblade, and we knew he had the best counters for it, and he honestly deserved to win that game over us.
Would you say Zam's one of the best drafters in ESD Sunday at least?
I would put him top 3 easily, I think.
Okay. I could definitely agree with that. He's one of the better guys out there. We already talked about how he was pretty outspoken. He's really good at drafting teams too. So I also interviewed Riles this last Wednesday, I think it was. Yeah, Wednesday.
Yeah, I watched it. It was a good interview. He Riles is a very interesting way of articulating himself. Let's put it that way.
No, he was an interesting person to talk with. I had a lot of fun, but of course he's the champion of RD2L last season. What's it like playing with that kind of caliber on your team?
The thing is, at first you get a little bit intimidated. Like, this guy's good at Dota. He micromanages your team. But after about 2 weeks, you're kind of used to like him micromanaging you. You get used to him just shot calling. And at this point, our entire team, whenever Riles says something, we do it. And that is a very important thing to winning these games because Riles is much more aware about how to approach Dota than we are. At this point, he's starting to rub off on it. I'm starting to make the right decisions in the games by kind of thinking, all right, what would Riles be saying right now if I were, I don't know, bottom lane, pushing a wave, 3 heroes missing, I'm a Juggernauts. At the point, all right, I should back. I should be ready to spin or dodge something, whatever. And by playing with Riles, he really impresses he pretty much like teaches you the way to properly play Dota. He's not a very forgiving captain. He's not a very easy captain to play with. But if you want to win, then Riles is 100% the guy you want to be playing with.
Do you think his experience of RD2L helps your team out and gets you some wins?
I mean, I should say yes, because I mean he's obviously the MVP of the champion last year, but most of the games we've played in, we don't necessarily need Riles to win them. I don't think we've had the hardest strength of schedule. I mean, we played auto attacks like the day before their like literally 2 minutes before their mid laner left the team. We played Octane without Octane, but had those teams been at full strength, we would 100% needed Riles to be there. And Riles would have played properly, commanded us properly, and would have been a big deal in those wins. You'd notice his impact a lot more in, say, scrimming some of the EST Monday teams, because those guys, they're on the same page. They have overall higher skilled players, and that's where Riles shines. He's somebody that is better in the higher stakes environments.
You talked a little bit earlier about how Riles is kind of a raging it coop, I guess. How do you
No,
deal with that kind of personality?
the thing is, Riles doesn't really rage at Coop that hard. See, if you play with Riles just for like 2 or 3 games, you play badly on an individual level, Riles will say something to you, be like, all right, you should have done this and that, and why weren't you here, and you should have positioned like this, and you should have used these abilities in this fight. And he'll say it in kind of a confrontational tone, but he won't specifically flame you. Maybe he'll call you a baboon, but that's not really too bad. You don't really understand Riles flaming you unless you play with Devilisk. And that is the only time you'll ever really see Riles truly flame a player, is if he's playing with Devilisk. Otherwise, he's kind of just, he just wants to win. He wants to shot call properly, and if you don't listen to shot calls, you might get a little bit mad, but I don't think he really necessarily flames that hard.
So you're saying it's a good thing you didn't pick Devilish then?
The thing is, I've said it before, the best thing to happen to the Riles team this season is Devilisk leaving for EST Monday. Because the plan was, all right, Riles going to pick Devilisk, going to play with his friends, win some Dota. His friends got picked first round, them being Alpaca and auto attacks. He would have had to first pick Devilisk in EST Sunday. And that team would have been so dysfunctional. Devilisk would have been off in the off lane, farming a Midas, and Riles would be yelling at him to do something, and then the entire team would just fall around them.
Alright, so getting into more of the leadership on your team, you guys, again, 7-1 right now. Who is the backbone of the team that holds it together, that's communicating in each of these wins?
Riles is the primary shot caller in the games. He understands how to play Dota. Outside of him, Watts is a very good secondary shot caller. In the series where we were missing Riles, Watts definitely stepped up there as a primary shot caller in those games, helped lead us to victory. Outside of the games, it's more me and Coop. We're more the administrators of the team in that sense, but Riles definitely does his part with that as well.
Alright. So you guys are scrimming quite a bit then?
We're scrimming sometimes, and we want to scrim more, but it's kind of hard for us to really be all 5 there every given day. Usually we could play like Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays type stuff, which isn't ideal, especially considering we were unable to scrim last Tuesday due to some unforeseen circumstances with our opponents, so we scrim, but we need to scrim more.
Okay. Do you think scrimming, like, objectively makes a team better, or is it more just scrimming makes you a better communicating? What is scrimming doing for you?
The way I view scrimming is scrimming leads you to the ultimate state of a team. If your team has some severe internal problems, you don't let them fester. Either you solve them or they blow up. You're not going to be like that middling state of you have like this passive aggressive thing going on. If you're playing with your team all the time, you're going to figure those problems out. Either you'll solve the problems or they will consume you and they'll kill the team. Problem solves.
Okay. So you're saying because you need to scrim more, you have some problems to solve then.
It's not that we necessarily have problems to solve. It's just we need to get better on an individual level, I think, at certain positions. I think we have the best tri-core in the entire division, but we need to be working on our support level play, and I think playing as a 5-man unit is very essential to making our support play better.
definitely supports. If two supports are able to play with each other more, the better they get. Because support duos are really what carry a team usually in games where your cores can't get good starts. Would you agree with that?
I'd agree that the support play is very important to defining the early tempo of a game. Obviously, if your cores are just straight up better players and can win the lanes on their own, that's very useful, which is kind of what we've done in a lot of these Sunday games. But like I look towards the future, right? I'm not just in this to say win some Sunday games. I'm in this to go deep in the playoff brackets, and I think looking towards the Monday teams that are going to have these higher overall skill players, we're going to need to be on the same page and have our supports playing properly because look at a lot of these top Monday teams, right? Let's take Snow's team as an example. They're 9-1 top of Monday. They had the Sand King. They had a four support player. I believe his name's EXP. Dude is an absolute monster with his early rotations. I was casting him against I believe Matthew's team, and his rotations were perfect every single time. He gets a kill, goes through lane, right place, right time. And if we can have one of our players play at that level, it's very important to hold up with them because if we don't, they're going to out rotate us and cause a lot of problems in the laning phase.
All right, and you did touch a little bit on your casting there. I haven't actually asked you anything about that yet. So you cast EST Monday mainly then?
Yeah, I mean, I would cast EST Sunday, but generally speaking, I'm busy playing an EST Sunday, so Tristan and I, we do cast every week the EST Monday games. Usually we just, I mean, at this point, last season I was casting it, but I didn't really know which matches I should be casting. This season, now that I'm in the RD2L, it's very easy to say, all right, these teams are good, let's watch these teams. And we have been casting the Premier Monday matchups of the week usually.
So you kind of had that buffer last season where you weren't actually playing, you were just casting then?
I was just doing commentary with, and that was fun. It was nice to be doing only commentary, but actually being involved in the league, knowing the players, knowing the people on each team, it gives you more of an emotional investment and more background knowledge into actually what you're watching and what you're commentating.
Was there something that held you back from playing last season?
I mean, at the time, I was a little bit busy with school and work, and I really wasn't there in time for signups, anyways. And I didn't actually know you could sign up as a free agent, so at that point, I was like, all right, let's do commentary, whatnot. Because I didn't really find the league randomly and then say, all right, let's commentate it. It was more, what leagues can we commentate? And RD2L came up, and eventually that ended up working out for us, but earlier on, we had like no viewers. Nobody wanted to watch our cast. I mean, we thought we were good, definitely the best casters in RD2L at the time, but no one wanted to watch us, and it took until playoffs for us to really start getting more than two viewers.
Any tips on how to improve casting as a fellow caster myself?
The thing with commentary is you need to really find what niche you fill as a commentator. Either are you somebody who's like a naturally play-by-play caster? Are you an analyst? Are you half and half? Like, what ratio do you have of that in you? And say, for example, I'm more of like a analyst type caster. So for me, it's like, all right, where do I find a play-by-play caster? Because you really want to be commentating with somebody else. Unless your only option to commentate with is like a bag of potatoes, you're generally actually better off casting with somebody else. Because if you're actually commentating with a co-commentator, you have somebody to play off of. It's not just you sitting there for 2 hours saying, all right, and the Juggernaut is walking up top lane, he's farming the creeps, and then the Puck is using phase shift over there. No, it's like, all right, if you have dead air going on, you can fill it, and you can talk about stuff, and you can have fun if you're doing somebody else. And I think if you try commentating with like 4 or 5 different people, try being a play-by-play guy, try being the analyst guy, try doing a mix and match of it, the two, it just helps you understand what your role is as a commentator, and at that point you can start improving on what skills you need to work on.
Do you have a favorite caster duo for Pro Dota?
I really like Toby Wan Cinderin. They play off each other very well. I think Cinderin is not only the best analyst in Dota, I think he's the best analyst in all of esports. I have a very high respect for where Cinderin has grown from because he's not a native English speaker. If you listen to him back in like 2012, he wasn't as articulate in English. You listen to him nowadays whenever he's not trying to be on a tier 3 European team. That's when you can hear some great Cinderin commentary right there. But unfortunately, Cinderin has recently decided he'd rather be on a mediocre European team than actually be the best commentator in the world. So,
Wow.
oh well.
Shots at Syndrome. I'm sure
It's
that'll hurt
not.
him.
It's not shots fired at him. He's probably heard this before from many different people because obviously, if you're Syndrome, you've been at like 4 different TIs. You're a strong competitor. You're a good captain. You want to be in there earning like the millions of dollars and actually competing in a team unit. But unfortunately for him, it means that the community misses a very, very strong caster and gets a decent captain in return.
All right. Well, that'll be. I think we'll call it good for this week. I actually just hit 20 minutes now that I actually checked my time, so it's longer than I've ever gone before. Badger, I hope you had a good time. You got any last words for tonight's games?
I mean, I actually have one thing to say, not about tonight's games, because tonight's games, we should be able to 2-0. We are, I mean, if you look at it on paper, we're better than they are. We have prepared for them. We have some very specific strats we've worked on for this sort of style of team. And if we execute our strategies, we're going to win this game. That said, though, I have one thing to say to not only you, Killerkarate, but to all other content creators, not only in the RD2L and out, is just keep on working at doing your content. Doesn't matter what it is, if it's commentary, written pieces, video pieces, whatever. Just keep on working on it because even if you're getting 1 viewer, 2 viewers, you're getting no reception, no comments, you're going to eventually grow as a person and grow as a content creator. And even if you don't become like this popular, extremely well-respected person, you at the very least grow as a content creator and eventually grow an audience. And the more content that is being created, the better community we have. And I appreciate all of you that do it.
Wise words from Badger. That's Badger, everybody. This will be it. Thanks for coming on.